This week's Fright Club podcast can be summed up in 3 words.
Control, Alt, Delete.
You know what that means? That means it's time to reboot.
I'm Hope Madden.
And I'm George Wolf, and we are from madwolf.com. And welcome in. This is the Fright Club podcast. And we're talking about reboots because of the news you probably heard about the reboot or sequel, we can't decide which, of Ghostbusters.
And it's one of those things where they've been talking about this, kicking this around for years and years. And I think we've both been pretty much against it until we saw that they've decided to scrap everything you thought they were doing and completely recast with a totally female cast.
Yeah, if you haven't heard, it's Kristen Wiig and
Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, Kate McKinnon from Saturday Night Live, and also Leslie Jones, who I think we know most recently from Top 5.
Yeah.
And she was hilarious.
The big friend.
The big friend, yeah. And she was hilarious.
She was hilarious.
Anyway, they are the planned new Ghostbusters. And the other bit that I read was there's a possibility. They're trying to get Bill Murray to be in the movie, but as a completely different character.
Yeah, he's not going to be Dr. Venkman.
Yeah.
He's just a whole other person, which would be awesome.
If this comes to pass. Mm-hmm. What I read is they're trying to get him to be a character who's doesn't believe in ghosts. So he's totally a 180 from the last one. But who knows what will actually come to pass. But they're planning it. Looks like it's closer than it's ever been. So since this is about horror movies and the Fright Club, we started thinking about our favorite reboots of classic horror movies. And I think we've got a good list here.
I do, too. I think that it's so common in horror to remake movies. I mean, it's just rampant. And so often, usually, it's not very good. They don't do a very good job of it. And so we just wanted to boil it down to the 5 that we love the most.
Yeah, and they're all solid, and they come from original movies that are also very solid.
Yes.
And like you said, it's probably even more a surprise that they can make it, I think in some cases, as we'll talk about, even better than the original. And let's start out with one that was really as close to the original as it could be because it was made shot for shot by the same writer-director, and that is
Michael Haneke with Funny Games.
There's someone here.
Hello.
Sorry to disturb you. I'm staying next door.
Please, come in.
Wow, that's a really great set of clubs.
Mr. Farber.
What? We're gonna make a bet now. You bet that you'll be alive tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and we bet that you'll be dead.
Yeah, love this movie. The original was in 1997, and then this is a little different because, as we said, the same writer-director decided to make it in English language and do a shot-for-shot remake.
Right, and it's the original is in German, and it's a great movie. And I mean, it's a great movie. It's such an unsettling concept. It's so well executed, but part of it is because Michael Haneke is just a genius.
He really is. He's shown in his career that he can do just about anything, no matter the language, no matter the genre.
Right. He makes films in German, French, and English.
Yeah.
He was most recently nominated for
Amour.
Amour. He was nominated for Best
And
Director.
then one of my favorite movies ever,
Best Foreign
The
Language
White
film.
Ribbon.
Oh my God, The White Ribbon! What a great movie! And that one's
Cachet.
creepy. And a lot of his movies do have the creepy edge, but this one is a full-on horror movie, which is interesting. And if you're not familiar with it. A family, a mom, a dad, a kid, they pack up their boat and they go to their vacation home in this, little gated community on the lake. And as they're unpacking, getting ready for their vacation there, knock at the door, and it's 2 teenage boys with white gloves on. So just an FYI, should teenage boys come to your door in the summer wearing white gloves, don't lend them eggs.
Well, but the key really is, before they come to the door, they do have a chance meeting with them and with
the next door neighbors.
The next door neighbors. And so that's the whole key. They see them at the door and they've already met them. Even though when you watch the movie, that first meeting is creepy. You can tell something's up, but the couple doesn't really think anything about it. So when they see these kids again, they are immediately put a little bit at ease because they've met them. They think they're okay. And once they let them into the house, they are not okay. And the reboot was done 10 years later in 2007. And it starred Naomi Watts and Tim Roth as the couple. And then they have a young boy. And the terrorists, or the killers, I guess you should say, Brady Corbett and
Michael Pitt.
And if you're familiar with either one of them, they're very good as these creepy guys. And so it goes along, and the boys they keep pushing politeness and etiquette.
Yeah, that's really, I think, the whole movie is like an exercise in making you uncomfortable because of the way that Haneke is playing with social etiquette and mores, and when is it okay to be rude, and it's just incredibly uncomfortable. It's so well done, and it's funny. We showed the remake in our movie series that we have at the Drexel Theater in Columbus, Ohio. And, a lot of people don't care for this movie because it does make them uncomfortable. The filmmaker is out to make you uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. He's not trying to make a pleasant movie. He is trying to, and he toys with the genre itself in a way that only a genius really could.
Yeah, very much so. And as the killers, psychos, keep terrorizing them, they keep setting it up as a game, mm-hmm. as you heard in the clip. We're going to play a game. We're going to have a bet. And they keep doing this until it gets more and more depraved. And if you haven't seen the movie, we're not going to give away the big twist, but he really makes the audience look at themselves as to what part they play in this, in this type of entertainment and what they're expecting. And it's really, really not tricky, I should say, but it's clever. And actually, for me, I had to really think about it, and I still think about it sometimes. Did he go too far? There's one scene in this movie that really will cause a lot of conversation that way.
Yeah.
As much of as great of a filmmaker as I think he is, sometimes when I do think about it, I go back and forth in my own mind. Like, no, you know what? That's too far, but maybe it's not. But it's so worth seeing both versions.
Both versions are. And you know what? Another thing, which you've said many times before, what he does with music in this movie is just genius. It's so great. Yeah,
because when they first are driving to the summer home or the
mm-hmm.
vacation home, they've got some nice classical on
in the car as they're driving,
and then all of a sudden, just jarring, you get some German thrash, angry metal, and boom, he just puts the two big words, funny games, just all over the screen. It just jars you.
Yeah.
And that's so effective.
And I think, an awful lot of the reason that the film works, whether it's the German or the English language version, is the kids that play the villains.
Yeah.
Arno Frisch and Frank Gehring are the villains in the German. And, of course, we already mentioned Pitt and Corbett in the remake. And they're just perfect. They're just perfect. It's like this just sadistic boredom wafts from these kids. Like they've got everything in the world, these spoiled, bored adolescents. And so this is what they're driven to. And it's just brilliant.
Yeah, and that's a theme that has been done in various movies, but it's done so well here. So can't recommend these enough. Both of them, really.
Yep.
If you have the stomach for watching them back to back, hey, party time. That's Funny Games from 97 and 2007. And moving on to the next one, boy, I think this one is one of your favorites.
It is, and it's funny because we're going to do two Romeros in a row, and I'm a huge George Romero fan. I mean, of course I am, right? Who isn't? And I remember when they were going to remake Dawn of the Dead, I remember seeing like a behind-the-scenes ad for it, maybe 6 months before it came out, and I was irate. And then I saw the movie, and I was like, I hate to say this out loud, I think I like it better.
So from 2004, it's the reboot of Dawn of the Dead.
Officials have declared a state of emergency.
Everybody they kill gets up and kills.
Residents are advised to find a safe place and stay there.
Look up the road, there's a lot more of them. Why are they coming here?
Maybe they're coming for us.
Wow. I mean, from the word go, this remake is all over the place. And one of the things I want to say, one of the reasons why I think this movie works so well, of course, it's directed by Zack Snyder, who would go on to make really popular films that I don't like. But I love this.
Like 300.
Oh my God, The Watchmen. Anyway, now we're going to upset people.
Yeah, that's not...
No. And then it was written, the screenplay was written, or was retooled from Romero's screenplay by James Gunn, who has done nothing but excellent films. He made Slither, which we love. And of course, he just wrote and directed Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, he's a genius. He's brilliant.
Good stuff.
So the two of them together, plus a great cast, Sarah Polley, awesome.
Who's
Ving
also
Rhames,
a very good filmmaker.
Yes,
if you don't know, she has proven herself to be a very, very effective director. But yes, she's one of the main actors in this.
And it's, in the opening sequence, it's one of those, it's one of those sequences that is going to come. It's like we're driving into this suburban, happy, absolutely great. You got the little girl and roller skates next door. She's best buds with her, and it's like, and then when it goes south, it goes with, and it's just, oh my God. And then it just sets up the entire film. It's so well done. And one of the reasons there are several reasons where I'm going to just go ahead and say that the remake is better than Romero's original. I'm not going to lie to you. I've always loved Romero's original. I love all of his Dead films. That's not really true. I love the first 3 or 4 of his Dead films. But it loses a lot of the social commentary. The effects are better, of course. You don't have the blue skin zombies in this one, which that was just his time. It was his first full color zombie movie, and it was gory, but the blue of the makeup made the zombies look a little bit silly. It's shorter, which to me, if you make a 2.5-hour horror movie, that's probably a problem. And the action is better. It's funnier. But for me, one of the biggest things is that it took Romero a lot of years to be able to actually write a female character that didn't suck, that wasn't just weak and pathetic. And he tries with Dawn of the Dead, the female, the blonde, the newscaster. She comes around to being a participant. But in this one with Sarah Polley, we finally find somebody who's like, no, this is how a human would actually act. Yeah. This is the way you would behave in the situation. She was great. Ving Rhames was great.
It does, as you said, it does have, the guy, Ty Burrell, we're not really TV watchers, but he's recently become very well known for Modern Family.
Right. He's so great in this.
Good. He's such a douche.
You just hate him. What a weasel.
You just hate him. But one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is very early on, after the outbreak breaks, and Sarah Polley's character is driven out of her house running and screaming, and she just stands there and surveys her neighborhood. Yep. And when she went to bed, all was, all fine in Brady Bunch land. And then the shot is from kind of behind her point of view, and it's a wide panoramic panning shot.
It just pans
of the
around.
carnage that's going on now in her neighborhood.
Screaming and oh my God,
yeah,
it's so
I love
good.
that shot.
It's so good.
Love that shot.
And this was one of the first with the zombies who could run.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of complaints, zombie purists, that they can't run. They shouldn't be able to run. But let's be honest, they're scarier if they can run. This was a scarier zombie movie.
And as you said, it's also funny.
Yeah.
Because they move to the mall, they take refuge in the mall, and then the zombies come after them. And at one point, they make contact through signs with another survivor across the way in like a gun and ammo store, and they signal him to pick off certain zombies by how much they resemble certain celebrities.
Yes,
so he's holding up a sign, Burt Reynolds. So I love that.
Yeah,
it's got some cheeky fun there. But,
and actually, and the soundtrack is hilarious as well. It's really wickedly clever soundtrack that goes along with that movie. It's a great one. It's the most fun of all of
the. It is fun.
It is. It's absolutely, and it's scary and it's tense. It's a great one, and I love that the newscaster, the guy that they're watching on TV, is Ken Foree from the original. Easily the best actor in the original.
Touch.
Yeah, it was good.
So the original Dawn of the Dead, 1978, and then the reboot. Another one that we featured a few months ago in our Fright Club live event here was the Dawn of the Dead remake from 2004. So good ones, and another one. I guess you wouldn't call it the next one we'll talk about, not really zombies, but in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's and you probably maybe missed the original, and hopefully you didn't miss the remake. We love this one, The Crazies.
Would you mind taking a look at Bill?
Sure, what's wrong?
I don't know. He's just not right.
She worries too much. I'm fine.
You got any plans this weekend?
She worries too much. I'm fine.
Hey, Ben.
How long has he been playing statue?
Couple hours now. Same look Rory gave me.
All things wise and wonderful.
We're in trouble.
Is he dead?
David, there's somebody outside.
Now, this was one, I'll be honest, the original Crazies, 1973, I never saw it. And I remember when the reboot came out, and I went to see it. Honestly, I didn't have a whole lot of expectations, but I remember being so impressed by it. And then I mentioned that on Facebook, on the Facebook page. And one of my Facebook friends immediately was like, "Oh, you're kidding, right?" Thinking I was like, "No, this is a very effective scary movie. Really well done, and I enjoyed the heck out of it.
Yeah, I did see the original, and it's it was very similar. It's a George Romero film, and it's very similar in concept to any of his zombie movies, except what happens is, and this has become commonplace in horror, but it was not at the time. The government has accidentally dropped a chemical into a small town's water system, and the chemical, which is meant to be a biological weapon, those who are exposed to it go mad. And one of the things that makes both versions of this movie so fascinating is that, madness is very individual. It's not zombies all behave the same, but one crazy person is crazy in a completely separate way than other crazy people. Sometimes you're harmless. Other times you have a pitchfork and some surgical implements and you're not. And I think that Romero's version, it suffers. His ideas were so far ahead of their time, but he didn't have the money to really, produce top quality films every time. Whereas, 20 years later, 30 years later, they did. They have great talent in the reboot.
Yes, they do.
Timothy Olyphant, Radha Mitchell, both really, really good.
Yeah, Timothy Olyphant is just one of those. He's one of those, in a sports analogy, just a very valuable utility player.
Yeah, exactly.
The guy can do anything in little tiny roles. I remember he was in a movie, just god awful movie called I Am Number 4 a few years ago, and for some reason he was one of the dads. And wow, I remember seeing it. This movie is so bad, but you know what? He's always good,
He is
no matter
always
what
good.
it is, and he's very good in this as the town sheriff.
Yeah.
And again, this one got me right from the beginning because when the crazy fever, whatever you call it, first breaks out, they're all at a little league game, and they just notice one of the townsfolk, and it's one of those cities, little towns where everybody knows everybody.
Right.
And they just point out to the outfield, and this crazy man is wandering in the outfield of a Little League game with a shotgun. And it starts from there. And that, I thought, was a really great way to get it going, and very well done. I like the whole thing.
I think so, too. One of the reasons I like the reboot better is that they do make a lot more of crazy people. In the original, he was more preoccupied with the military and what men will do if they're ordered to do so. And while there is a bit of that in the reboot, first of all, they trim the fat. Second of all, they have better actors. And third of all, they do a lot more of exploring insanity and what it's like when you're around people and what they might do to you. And it just makes for a much creepier film. And it's much tenser, and they just got some really great scenes. I can't go through a car wash anymore without thinking about that car wash
That is a good one. Yeah,
scene.
the car wash.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that is a real good one. And then I think for me, at the end, when they really wrap it up, that could have been a little more subtle for me. They set it up for leaving you with the possibility of sequels that never came.
Right.
So maybe for me, I don't know how that was in line with the original.
No, it was very different from the original. And it's funny, too, that there is one punch that they pulled for the remake that Romero was happy to land. And if you have seen the original, you probably know what I'm talking about. There's one when they realize that this father and daughter are insane, they're infected, who people were holed up in a farmhouse together, and they realize it goes places you don't want it to go. And the remake, they didn't do that. It was mostly violence and crazy in that way. But I wondered whether they were going to do it or they weren't going to do it. No, they didn't. And it's funny,
the 70s were a different time.
They were a different time. But this is another one where, the first time they flirted that they were going to remake The Crazies, Brad Anderson, the director Brad Anderson from Session 9 and The Machinist, he was attached to it. I was super excited.
Oh, yeah.
I was super excited because I love him.
Yeah, that's good.
And then he dropped out, and Breck Eisner is actually the filmmaker who made it. Now, the only film I'd known of his prior to that was Sahara. With Matthew McConaughey, one of the worst movies ever, just horrible. And I was like, oh no, we're doomed. This is going to be terrible. This is going to be like when they remade The Wolfman. This is going to be terrible. But he did a great job. It's great. It's fun. It's a really fun, creepy horror movie. And it's another one where I like the soundtrack. Mad World.
Yes,
they remade
the slowed down version
very
of,
creepy. I love
of
that.
Mad World.
Yeah.
I forget the original Mad World was Tears for Fears, and then somebody slowed it down, and I forget. Apologies to whoever that was. And very creepy.
Yeah.
You know what? Now we've seen that's kind of become a trend.
It is.
They take songs.
Yeah.
In fact, I just noticed in the new trailers for, speaking of movies that are going to be bad, 50 Shades of Grey, they used a real slowed down version of Beyonce's Crazy in Love.
Oh.
And so a lot of movies do that now. So apologies to any 50 Shades of Grey fan. I don't know it's going to be horrible. I'm expecting it to be horrible. But going on to the next reboot, boy, this is one of my just favorites, both of them, from 2008. And then only 2 years later, they rebooted it, 2010, Let Me In.
You guys just moved in, huh?
How do you know?
I live next door to you. What happened there? Some kids from school? I'll help you. But you're a girl. I'm a lot stronger than you think I am. What are you, really? I need blood to live.
Love this so much. Love both of these so much. If you don't know, the original of this was called Let the Right One In from 2008. And one of the things that made me at first dread it, the remake, was because it was only 2 years.
Yeah.
And I thought, what are they going to do? You know, and I was so afraid that they were just going to botch it up. And oh, man, did they not. This is one where I can't say one is better than the other. They're different in slight ways that I just love them both so much. I can't really pick one or the other, but it's about a young girl vampire.
Yeah, the original, which is a Swedish film, sets it in a really very icy climate, which to me was really effective. And it's just a little boy. His parents are split. He's lonely. He's bullied at school. And then a little girl moves into his apartment complex and he wants to be her friend. And it turns out that she's a vampire, which he doesn't know. And it's on one level in both versions, it's a very sweet coming of age, blooming romance, friendship kind of film. It's very sweet. There's a very sweet core to it. One of the things that I like about the remake is that, so the girl lives with her, quote, dad. And in the remake, it's the brilliant Richard Jenkins. And he's not her dad. He's sort of her caretaker, and it's his job to sort of find her victims because she's little and, is hampered by her ability to do that. And you realize as the movie goes on that this is probably the role that the little boy in the original is called Oscar, and in the remake is played by Cody Smith-McPhee, whom I love.
Yeah.
That's the role he will eventually take. He's going to take on her. So that's the Let Me In. That she's got to find somebody else to be that person for her. One of the things I like about the remake is that Richard Jenkins is awesome. And what he does is a little more explicit in the remake. You get to see a little bit more of it. You get to see more of his conflict. You get to see more of the love he has for her. Not to knock the original. But I think that character is more well-developed and sadder and really well done in the second one.
Yeah, and in the second one, the girl is played by Chloe Grace Moretz, who's a gifted young actress. She's had a couple of missteps here lately. We don't want to talk about If I Stay, but she's very, very talented, and she's very good in this. Very good. And as you said, it's about coming of age and two outcast children who, let's face it, there are kids, they feel, growing up, they have no friends or whatever, and then all children, adolescents, looking for a place to belong, looking for someone to care. And you have that aspect of it, and then you have the bloody aspect of it.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that the remake is bloodier, really. More carnage. And that's one of the things that made me so disappointed that no one went to see it.
Yeah, it made $0.
Didn't it come out about Halloween, too, in 2010? I think it may have. And I remember thinking to myself, what do you want?
Yeah.
Here we go. This is great. It's vampires, it's blood, it's carnage, and it's good.
It's really, really good. It's so well written. It's so well directed. So well acted.
And
Matt Reeves directed it, who did
Matt
Cloverfield
Reeves,
and
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Right.
Very talented.
Yeah, very talented.
And he has shown that, boy, you can take something and keep a healthy respect for the original material, and if not improve on it, do it perfect justice in a way that is so a little bit new, but still retains what made the original so good. I love them both so much, and in both, there's such a great climactic scene because part of it involves the young boy is being bullied, and of course now he finds out he has a friend who can really help him in that regard.
Yeah, and we don't want to give much away.
No.
But honestly, it is in the annals of horror. It is one of the best climactic scenes in any horror film you're going to see.
And it was a deal where I thought that was one of the first things I thought when I heard about the remake is how are they going to handle that? And it's not exactly the same. He changes it a little bit, and both versions are great.
Yeah.
And so I can't, if you can't tell, we can't recommend these enough.
Oh, yeah.
Let the Right One In from 2008, and then the remake, Let Me In from 2010. Love them, love them, love them. So let's finish up with one more, and it was one that, boy, talk about not seeing a film. How about one that I think everybody saw from 2002, and that's The Ring.
Have you heard about this videotape that kills you when you watch it? You start to play it, and it's like somebody's nightmare. And as soon as it's over, your phone rings. And what they say is, you will die in 7 days. I watched the tape.
This is the film that really brought the J-horror and eventually just Asian horror onslaught. After this movie came out, Hollywood remade every Asian horror film they could get their hands on, and some of them to good effect, and most of them not. But it was because Gore Verbinski's The Ring, honestly, was a better movie than the original Ringu, the Japanese film Ringu.
In 1998, it was. Because I hadn't seen Ringu. But then I went back and saw it after The Ring, and I thought, well, The Ring is just better.
It is
all
just
the way
better.
around.
It is.
And what's funny to think of now, as creepy and scary as it is, it was not rated R.
No, it was PG-13. And then if you look at it, it's because there's very little blood, there's no foul language, but on the other, it is such an effective creepy movie.
It really is. And to me, and I actually wrote a piece about this for ScreenRelish.com a few months ago, was that it all comes down to the fact that the actual tape itself, because you probably know the story by now, there's this super creepy videotape. If you watch it, as you heard in the trailer there, you have 7 days, you're going to die. And it all hinges for me on the fact that you got to show us that video, and it has to be creepy. It has to deliver the goods, and it does. I love the video.
It's just random images of creepy stuff.
Yeah, and it's so well done. You think to yourself after you see it, well, yeah, that could mess you up if you watch this tape. So that's how it started. But then it was paced well, it was acted well, it was super creepy without, as you say, a bunch of blood. But the girl with the hair in her face.
Oh my God! And the horse scene on the ferry.
Yeah.
Oh my God, so many things about this film were so well done. And the film, I don't know why exactly, but the scene that always sticks out in my head is when she goes back to Brian Cox's house because she's trying to find evidence. And they happen to live on an island, so there is a lighthouse. And she's in the dark, and you just see the light swing through the house, go away. Swing through the house, go away. And then swing through your house, there's Brian Cox, go away. Oh my God, where's Brian Cox? It's just, it's Gore Verbinski, who has gone on to do great things, bad things, whatever. He does such a great job with this movie. And the Samara, the little cherubic, adorable Samara, plus, and for those of you who don't know, the thing that comes out of the well that is creepy Samara is actually a full-grown man. That's why he looks so creepy. Yeah. But it's effective. Their faces, when you find the victims, everything about this movie is so fun and creepy and great.
Right. And that just shows you how effective you can be without being overtly bloody. I mean, we were just got done talking about a movie that was very bloody, and I loved it.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't have to.
No.
Like we said, this was not even rated R, and it delivers some big-time creepy scares.
Mm-hmm.
So
if you're looking for one to share with your children, legally, you can show them this movie.
Yes, you can. The disappointing thing about this is it spawned a sequel that was awful.
Well, and they're doing a reboot next year.
Okay, then. Well,
Rings, it's called.
All right. Well, I think if we've learned anything in talking with these, let's hold out our opinion of what can be achieved, because in the right hands,
that's right,
you can do it. It just depends on who's the talent behind it. So maybe.
Yeah.
But this is one where we'd say you don't have to see the original. I mean, if you want to,
yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm not going to say I dislike it. I don't. But it's just like the best of the remakes here. They trim the fat. They get rid of unnecessary additional information, and they really streamline into a creepy, effective film.
Yeah. So that's That's The Ring, and that's Control-Alt-Delete. That's 5 of our favorite reboots. But you know what? Maybe we missed one. Maybe we missed a couple. What? Maybe you think some of these aren't good. Let us know. We love to get your feedback. The Golden Spiral Media feedback line, always open for you. That's 304-837-2278.
Or, you know what? You can just go to the website, goldenspiralmedia.com, go to the /feedback, and then you can just try out to submit a feedback response there. There's a pre-recorded audio file. Use the SpeakPipe widget to record the contribution. It comes right to us. We would love to hear from you. We will definitely bring you on next week's episode and talk about what you had to say.
Yeah, and hit us up on Twitter, too, because we always love to keep the conversation going there, and that is at MaddWolf, MaddWolf. And we have a lot of fun with that as well. So it's Fright Club, the podcast, your 5 or our 5 top reboots.
Yeah, and tune in next week. We're going to talk about the best Valentine's horror movies. Little romance in the air.
Until then, stay frightful, my friends.